This colony was built by the Ishtar Collective. Records say they once studied ruins older than humanity itself. We thought this was all lost in the collapse.
Hey guys, what is up? Today we're going to be talking about more Destiny theory and speculation, and this one's going to be more focused around the Stranger and events that could have possibly led up to her ability to be able to time travel and such, and have such technology. I was looking through the comments of my last video, and I saw Jameson Locke was talking about Grimoire cards that I definitely overlooked, so thank you for pointing that out in the comments. That was really awesome. So I'm just going to read these off to you guys and try and explain to the best of my abilities what they're talking about, because it's kind of really confusing. So let's just get started. Okay, so I'm going to start out by talking about the Ishtar Collective. Now, during the Golden Age, this is from like the Destiny timeline thing, the Ishtar Collective was built on Venus after it was terraformed by the Traveler. Now, these people found the Vex ruins to be very fascinating, and so they created the Ishtar Collective. Now, this is just a group of like the brightest minds from Earth that are going to study these ruins. Now, it says that they're competing with a company on Mars, but that's not really important at this point. Pretty much all that you need to know is the Ishtar Collective was a bunch of really smart people. Now, there are very few people in this group, or a few people that we know of, and I will read off their names right now. Shioma EC, so that's one person. Duane McNead, Dr. Shim, and Maya Sundaresh. Now, we heard of Dr. Shim in the mission The Archive, where you find out that underneath the Academy on Venus, they had mappings of the Vault of Glass, which is obviously because they studied the Vex technology and they were mapping it. Now, the Grimoire cards that talk about what the Ishtar Collective do get a little crazy and confusing, so this is where I'm going to have to like read it and then I'll like try and explain to the best of my abilities what the heck they're talking about. Alright, so this is Ghost Fragment Vex 2 from the records of the Ishtar Collective. Sundaresh. So that's the situation as we know it. EC, to the best of my understanding, Shim, will all be a profanity. This is extremely profane. That thing has us over a barrel. Sundaresh, yeah, we're in a difficult position. Duane, I'm not going to say the whole name. I don't understand, so it's simulating us. It's made virtual copies of us. How does that give it power, EC? It controls the simulation. It can hurt our simulated selves. We wouldn't feel the pain, but rationally speaking, we have to treat an identical copy's agony as identical to our own. Sundaresh, it's God in there. It can simulate our torment forever. If we don't let it go, it'll put us through hell. Duane, we have no casual connection to the mind state of those sims. They aren't us, just copies. We have no obligation to them. EC, you can't seriously. Your own self, Shim, profane, idiot. Think. If it can run one simulation, maybe it can run more than one. And there will only ever be one reality. Play the odds, Duane. Uh-oh, Shim. Odds are that we aren't our own originals. Odds are that we exist in one of the Vex simulations right now. EC. I don't think of that. Sundaresh. Indistinct percussive sound. Okay, so what that one is talking about is the people of the Ishtar Collective thought it was a great idea to get into this Vex specimen's mind. Now, since they're all connected, it got very complicated, and now they think that they're in a simulation. They saw that in its mind, it was creating a simulation of them doing exactly what they're doing to that specimen, which means that the Vex are aware of their presence, and they believe that there are alternate realities, or not alternate realities, but simulations, and they think that reality as we know it is a Vex simulation. So this is why it's getting a little confusing. So I'm going to start onto the next one. This is Ghost Fragment Vex 3 from the records of the Ishtar Collective. Sundaresh, I have a plan. EC, if you have a plan, then so does your sim, and the Vex know about it. Duane, does it matter? If we're in Vex hell right now, there's nothing we can't. Shim, stop talking about real and unreal. All realities are programs executing laws. Subjectively is all that matters. Sundaresh, we have to act as if we're in the real universe, not one simulated by the specimen, Otherwise, we might as well give up. Easy. Your sim self is saying the same thing. Sundaresh. Chioma, love, please hush. It doesn't help. Duane. Maybe the simulations are just billboards. Maybe they don't have interior. It's bluffing. Shim. I wish someone would simulate you shutting up. Sundaresh. If we're Sims, we exist in the pocket of the universe that the Vex specimen is able to simulate with its onboard brain power. If we're real, we need to get outside that bubble. Easy. We call for help. Sundaresh. That's right, we bring in someone smarter than the specimen. Someone too big to simulate and predict. A war mind. Shim. In the real world, the war mind will be able to behave in ways the Vex can't simulate. It's too smart. The war mind may be able to get us into the Vex and rescue us. Duane, if we try it, won't the Vex torture us for eternity? Or just erase us? Sundaresh, it may simply erase us, but I feel that's preferable to the alternatives. Easy, I agree. Shim, once we try to make the call, the Vex may react, so let's all savor this last moment of stability. Sundaresh. Indistinct sounds. Shim, you two are adorable. Duane, I wish I'd taken that job at Clovis. So Clovis is the company on Mars. So that's their competing one. So that's what the person was saying. Because I guess I wouldn't be trapped in all this Vex crap. So now I'm gonna go over the main one. This one kind of ties everything together. This is the Ghost Fragment Vex 4 that Jameson told me about in the comment section. Okay, so here we go. Maya, Chioma, Duane, and Shim decide to have a picnic before they send themselves into infinity. Up here, they have to act by biomechanical proxy. No human being in the Ishtar Academy has ever crossed the safety cordon and walked the ancient stone under the Citadel. The Vex construct that stabs up out of the world to injure space and time. It's not safe. The cellular Vex elements are infectious, hallucinogenic, entheogenic. The information Vex elements are more dangerous yet. And there could be semiotic hazards beyond them. Aggressive ideas, Vex who exist without a substrate. Even now, operating remote bodies by neural link, the team's thoughts are relayed through the war mind who saved them. Sandboxed and scrubbed for hazards, their real bodies are safe in the academy, protected by distance and neural firewall. But they walk together in proxy, pressed close, huddled in awe. Blue-green light, light of color of an ancient sea, washes over them. Each of their explorer bodies carries a slim computer. Inside, 227 of copies of their own minds wait, patient and pause for dispersal. I wonder where it came from, Duane says. Of course, he's the one to break the reverent silence. The Citadel, I wonder if it was here before the Traveler changed Venus. It could have been latent, Chioma EC suggests. She's the leader. She kept them together when it seemed like they faced actual eternal torture. She pulled them through, seated in the crust, waiting for a period of geological quiescence so it could grow. Dr. Shim shrugs. I think the Traveler did something paracasual to Venus, something that cut across space and time. The Citadel seems to come from the past of a very different Venus than our own. It doesn't have to make any sense by our logic, any more than the moon's new gravity. Maya Sundaresh walks at the center of the group. She's been too quiet lately. What happened to them wasn't her fault, and maybe she'll believe that soon. What could you do with it, she murmurs, staring up, if you understood it? Chioma put an arm around her. That's what we're going to find out. Where the Citadel can send us, whether we can come back. They're not us anymore, Maya looks down at herself, at the cache of herself forks. We're not going anywhere. We're sending them. They're diverging. They rescued themselves from inside of a Vex mind. 227 copies of themselves, untortured and undamaged. Those copies voted, all unanimously, to be dispatched into the Vex information network as explorers. When Maya and Chioma looked at each other, they can tell they're each wondering the same thing. How many of them will stay together, wherever they go? How many Fork Mayas and Fork Chiomas will fall out of love? How many will end up bereft, grieving? How many will be happy, like them? Chioma tries a little smile. Maya smiles back, haltingly, and then, sighing, unable to stop herself, grins a big, stupid grin, an everything is okay grin. Shim makes a loud, obnoxious "aww" at them. Duane is still thinking about paracasuality and doesn't notice. They climb. When they find the Vex aperture they plan to use, they overlay the luminous stone and ancient brassy machines with images of sun and sand. They set up the transmitters and interfaces that will translate 227 simulations of the four of them into Vex language, into the tangled pathways of the Vex network to see what's out there and maybe come home. In the metaphor they've chosen, setting up the equipment is like laying out the picnic. In the metaphor they've chosen, they look like themselves, not hardened explorer proxies, like people. Do you think, Dwayne begins halting, that you could use this place to change things? If you regretted something, could you find a way through the Citadel, go back and change it? I wish I could go back and change you into someone else, Dr. Shim grouses. Chioma's shaking her head. She knows physics. Time is self-consistent, she says. I think it's like the story of the merchant and the alchemist. You could go back and watch something or be part of something, but if you did, then that was the way it always happened. Maybe you could bring something back to now, something you needed. Maya runs a hand across the surface of the Vex aperture, feeling it with the sensors 10,000 times as precise as a human hand. These proxy bodies are limited. They crash and need resetting every few hours. They struggle with latency. They can't hold much long-term memory, but they'll get better. Or go forward and learn something vital, if you knew how to control it, how to navigate across space and time. So it's just a way to make everything more complicated, Dwayne sighs. It doesn't fix anything. Nothing ever does. I should have taken that job at... You would have hated it at Clovis, Dr. Shim says. We both know you're happier here, Dwayne stands stunned by this courtesy, and then they both pretend to ignore each other. The four of them set up the interface. Their stored copies wake up and prepare for the journey, so that, as they work, they find themselves surrounded by the mental phantasms of themselves. 227 Mayas and Chiomas knocking helmets and smiling. 227 Dr. Shims making cynical bets with each other about how long they'll last. 227 Dwayne's blowing goodbye kisses to the sweet golden sun. 227 of them shaking hands, smiling, making ready to explore. Okay, that was confusing. So, I don't know how well I can explain this. You guys probably understood most of that. That these four decided to get their minds or something trapped into this Vex, and they used the War Mind, and it was able to successfully recover their essence and to keep them from being erased by the Vex. Now, a couple words that stuck out to me were proxy. They said that they're using proxies, not their actual selves. Now, proxy is something authorized to act on behalf of another, so it would make sense that these bodies that they have, these proxies, aren't real. They're not themselves, but their identity is still their minds are inside of these proxies, but the proxies are not their own bodies. Their bodies are still on Venus. Like they said that they are protected by a neural firewall, that they're safe in the academy. They're just not they're not in their bodies. They also said that their proxy bodies struggle with long-term memory and they struggle with latency. Now, latency is an interesting word to use. Physiologically, latency or latent period is the delay between the recept of a stimulus by a sensory nerve and the response to it. So, I guess the way you could think about it is like lag or drag time. Like when you move your arm, it like takes a couple seconds for your arm to actually move. I guess is like what they're talking about. Like it's hard to move their proxy bodies, is my guess on the matter. I don't know if they're actually in a body or if they're just they're I mean, it says that they like shake hands and stuff, so it means that they must have some kind of physical form and they're not just their entities or in the network. It's just kind of a confusing subject. I don't know what you guys think on it. You can write down in the comments and stuff like that, but um so I'm just gonna continue talking about how this relates to the stranger. Now, Jameson wrote in the comments that he said that Maya Sundaresh sounds a lot like the stranger, and it would make sense because if Maya is one of the four that is in this situation with these proxy bodies and stuff like that, that they can travel through time through the Vex network. They can like do the same things that the Vex can do, which would make sense why the stranger can do the things that she can do. Now, the one question that I had that can show a problem with this is that in any Destiny timeline, the Ishtar Collective operated during the Golden Age before the creation of Exos. Now, if the stranger's an exo, then that means that Maya can't be an exo because they weren't created yet. So this kind of bypasses that theory, I guess, but I still think that since there's all this weird time manipulation, that there might be a possibility, and maybe they're proxy bodies, maybe the proxies that they're in are exo bodies, and that her actual, like, subconscious, her actual person is a human, and yet her consciousness is put into this proxy, which is an exo body. That could also be a possibility, and that would make sense that they could interface with Vex technology if they're like some kind of robotic being. I don't know. It's an interesting idea. I don't know what you guys think. You should write it down in the comments, but it's just weird stuff. But what do you guys think? Now let's go back to the stranger now, just briefly. I wanted to actually read the Grimoire card where she talks about how she's been around when time resets, because I think that that's an important Grimoire card to know if you want to try and figure out the stranger and her motives and stuff like that, so I'm just going to read that right now. I stand here now and now and now many times, this view, this ground. This is where I always choose to stand. I put my feet where I put my feet before, and where I will again, and I look at the sky. Great things moving, rendered small with distance, lesser things not moving, watching me. I always stand here, resolute, then fall back to that point there, where everything shatters. The sky isn't special here, certainly no better than any other sky, but it's the view I know best. The silent avalanche begins, rock and dust, falling chaos, machines as a rule hate chaos. Our enemies outflank us from below, above, left, right, before, beyond, the traveler shattering. There are always the dead, their names shift. Sometimes I think I see myself among the dead, but I am resolute. Now, here she's talking about the end of everything, when the darkness wins, which means that it inevitably always happens. Like I was talking about in my other video that you guys should see if you haven't already, because that would make more sense. Anyways, I mean, you don't have to, but she talks about the people dying, she talks about the travelers shattering. She says, our enemies outflank us from below, above, left, right, before, beyond. And I think when she talks about this, she means the Vex, because she says before beyond, which would make sense because they can travel through time, or I mean they don't have control of it, but they're lost in time, so they can come from before and beyond. She talks about above and below, so I know that they had when Destiny first or before it came out, they had pictures of like of Vex ships and stuff, so I think that'd be interesting to see that maybe there's like a Vex invasion where they have ships. That'd be cool. I mean, it wouldn't be cool for us, but it'd be cool to see. She says that they're below, which means that they could be dormant in the Earth, like they are in other planets after the Traveler terraformed it. Um, so that's kind of an interesting idea, and the reason why I say that this is all Vex related is because the Stranger is only around the Vex. She never shows up during when Skolas was a problem. She didn't show up when Crota was a problem. She's probably not going to show up when Oryx is a problem. I don't know yet. I'll have to see in a couple weeks here. But she only shows up to help you with the Vex. Now, this would also make sense if she was Maya, because that means that she is in the Vex network, so that does also support that idea, which is really cool, but I don't know, it's just really confusing stuff. But all I know is that she somehow knows that time resets, or if it does, and she's seen the end multiple times, which is interesting, and it seems that maybe that means that the Vex are really the only problem, that the Hive are really not that big of a deal, and maybe like the Vex are the main true enemy. She says that it's an evil that despises other evil, that is the ultimate embodiment of evil, because the Vex only want to be the dominant species in the galaxy, I guess. They're control freaks. They want everything to be under their control. They want to control everything. So that's just kind of an interesting idea. I don't know what you guys think about that. Or the Stranger. I don't think that she's Vex related anymore. Like, I don't think she's a hallucination from Vex technology. I think that she is an actual thing, and this is supported by the fact that you see her on Earth before you find Vex or near any Vex technology, and also everyone on the tower knows about her as well, and like they seem to talk about her a lot. So, and a lot of people said that when they see the Stranger, she helps them, or she she helps to avoid catastrophes. So that would mean that she's kind of like a hero, that even though she doesn't have a guardian, she doesn't have a guardian, which means that she's not from the Traveler. She's not. She was alive before, I think, which would make sense why she can travel through time, and that the reason why she's still alive is because she was alive during the Golden Age. And maybe it's Maya, maybe it's not. Maybe she has like some Golden Age technology that she was able to keep that no one else knew about, that she could go through time. And I don't know. It's really confusing stuff. I don't know what you guys think about it, but I really like reading your comments, but you guys should definitely write some stuff down in the comments, and so I can read it because I really enjoy that. And I'll like try and figure out more of this stuff because it's really interesting, and I really like reading these Grimoire cards and learning lore about Destiny, and it's really cool stuff. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this video because it's some pretty cool stuff to learn about. I think I don't know but thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See you later, guys.